I'm your host and therapist. I'll be speaking on the causes of mental health challenges. Also, I'll be outlining three major causes. The causes of mental health challenges can be attributed to a complex interplay of genetics, environmental factors, and social factors. And these factors include biological vulnerabilities, environmental factors, and social factors. No one single factor can be attributed to be the most cause of mental health challenges. Rather, it is an interplay. These three factors, these three elements interact to impact on the mental health wellness of an individual. The potential causes of mental health challenges are: number one factor, biological factor. And under the biological factor, we have genetics. This can be transferred from the parents to their children. In a family with a history of mental health challenges, suggesting genetic predisposition, is transferable from one generation to the other. Also, we have brain chemistry. The brain functions with a chemical known as neurotransmitters. When there's an imbalance in this chemical, it affects the proper functioning of the brain, which can worsen mental health problems. And lastly, the brain structure and function. Traumatic experiences such as brain damage, traumatic brain damage, or injuries through accidents that destroys the structure of the brain affect its function, proper functioning. This can create mental health problems on an individual. The number two factor is environmental factor. And under this, we have stressful life experiences or life events. Experiences such as loss of loved ones, loss of job, financial difficulties, and even relationships challenges can worsen mental health problems. Practically, you know how you feel when you lose a loved one. You know that feeling you have when you lose your job, your source of livelihood, the fear, the insecurity that comes in, the anxiety that sets in. You know how you feel when you are financially handicapped, when you're financially down. What happens to your feelings? Your mental health becomes affected. These are experiences that challenges your personality, that challenges your value as an individual, hereby worsening or increasing the risk of mental health illnesses. Also, social isolation and loneliness. The lack of social connection or social affiliation and the feeling of isolation can worsen mental health challenges, because in this case, the individual feels unloved, unwanted. This impacts on the self-esteem of an individual. This influences the self-esteem, the perception of self by the individual as not being worthy, not being enough, not being recognized by others. This influences the mental health well-being of that individual and increases their vulnerability and risk of mental health challenges. Trauma also is another factor. Exposure to traumatic events such as abuse, witnessing violence, neglect can increase the vulnerability and the risk of developing mental health challenges on an individual. An individual who has witnessed or has suffered abuse, either as a child or as an adult, stand at a greater risk of developing mental health problems. Witnessing violence reshapes the mindset of an individual, can damage the perception of an individual permanently for life. Their view, it can cause things like nightmares, flashbacks of this violence, thus increasing the risk of anxiety, depression, insomnia. These traumatic experiences can worsen mental health illness. The number 3 factor is social factors. And under the social factors, we have social economic factor. Poverty. Poverty is one factor that can increase the risk of mental health challenges. Lack of access to resources, social inequality. These are factors that can impact directly on the individual. Social factors that can impact directly on the individual's mental health wellness. Poverty, lack of access to common basic amenities or resources can increase the vulnerability of such individual, thereby exposing them to mental health challenges. And lastly, social discrimination, racism. An individual who is being racially abused or stigmatized on the basis of their color, their tribes, their affiliations, their personality, stand a greater risk of developing mental health challenges. A stigmatized individual, an individual who is constantly being discriminated, stands at a greater risk of developing mental health challenges. So these are some of the causes of mental health challenges. In my next video, I'll be speaking on some of the remedies for these causes of mental health challenges. Stay tuned. I remain your host and therapist. Thank you.